What's up, Ham Fam? Hope everybody is staying warm out there, especially in Calgary, where shit is all sorts of crazy outside. Welcome back to Heart as a Mother. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Jizzy, and with my lovely co-host here, Harvey.
Aunt Viv. Woo woo.
The new Aunt Viv.
Yes.
Woo, woo.
Oh my God. So the weather. Okay, first of all, I've been in quarantine for like the last, I don't know, I think a week and a half. So this is probably my second day out, but God, it feels so good to be out.
Can I just tell this story too before we start? So I went to Hara's house to drop off. I texted her and I was like, hey, I'm going to drop off board games for you and Jaden.
Oh my God.
So you're not bored. So I dropped it off and I gave her bananagrams. Do you know what bananagrams is?
No.
So Hara's like, what
It's
is
like
this?
Scrabble.
And I was like, oh, it's like Scrabble, but faster. And she's like, bitch, you think anyone in this house knows how to spell?
Yeah, no.
And I was like, well, I guess you can practice then. And then she looks at her son and she's like, guess you gonna learn how to spell today.
He did find it funny. We haven't really touched it, which I feel like we should, but.
I'm hurt. That's like my favorite
But
game.
you know what? Does Mark play that with you?
No, nobody fucking plays it with me, okay?
Okay, well, I'm just saying, but I'll let you know if I learn a thing or two.
Fine.
So anyways,
So-
today, what?
Sorry, I was just going to say, for those of you who are new here and just joining us, maybe it's the first or second episode that you're tuning in at, we are Heart as a Mother. We talk about real mom shit, like sometimes the dark stuff and that no one wants to talk about, or even like embarrassing stuff. But, you know, we just want to create a safe space for everybody to come and listen, tune in, and just be real, really, is what we want to do. So, yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in if you're new here. And if you're not, thank you for continuing to support your girls.
So today we have a very special guest. Well, all of our guests is really special because everybody's like super inspiring and we learn. I feel like I become a better person every week that we encounter or have a guest come on because I always learn something. So today we have a guest where she lost her mother to a heart disease in 2019. She founded a support group called Strong Daughters here in Calgary, so where she overtook ownership of the group. So we want to welcome Melissa Vanderfluit. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name.
No, you did it perfect.
Hi, Melissa Vanderfluit.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for being
You're
here.
not Dutch, you're not much.
I love that.
I have to say it, sorry. That's my husband's name, and he'd kill me if I didn't say it.
What was your maiden name?
Robertson.
Robertson.
Well, that's a huge change then.
Yeah, I wanted something totally not common because I was so tired of like being Melissa Robertson.
Well, you know what?
2005 on like Gmail.
If someone looks you up, it's really hard to find you.
Yeah. I mean, my last name is not common, but I mean, it is mispronounced all the time. So sometimes I'm like, I wish I was a Robertson or something, but.
Yeah, you always want, it's like hairstyles.
Yeah.
You have curly hair, you want straight.
Yeah.
It's like, I want something not common. And,
Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for coming on to our podcast. And we know that you're also a digital marketer as well.
Yeah.
So that's what you do, like, for
a real job.
For a real job?
Yeah, for a real job.
Okay,
yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So can you tell us a little bit more about, is it called Strong Daughters YYC?
Yeah, so it's Strong Daughters YYC.
Okay.
If anybody wants to start the group outside of Calgary, hit me up. Just let me know.
Yeah.
But originally it started in Calgary with a lady named Kristen. She was the one that originally founded it when she lost her mother back when she was quite young. I believe she was 18 or 19 at the time. Had started the group because she found basically a need or a niche that ladies or anybody between the ages of 18 and 35, typically there's no support group, there's no help. You know, a lot of grief groups are more generated towards, kids or anybody younger than 18. And then this weird kind of gap where, grief and death still happens to everybody, but where do those people turn? Where do they go to find support, to connect with other people who are going through the same shit? And so she originally started the group basically to meet up with people that were going through the same thing.
And did you know her beforehand, or you kind of just found her?
No, I met her through the group.
Okay.
So yeah, I originally, after I lost my mom, a couple months later, I was really looking for some sort of support or somebody to talk to, just that understood where I was going from. You know, you talk to, I call them adults, even though I'm an adult, but you know, everyone who's
we're
like,
someone's children, you know that, right?
Yeah. we're all adults. But you know, you talk to the adults who, you know, they've lost their mom at 84, 90, like the more, I hate to say this, but typical age, where I lost my mom at 54. Like, so how, you know, you can't relate to that. So finding other people who have, you know, lost their mom or dad at an unfortunate age, and connecting and understanding each other from that kind of age group is just a totally different experience to connect with people. So,
about Strong Daughters YYC, it's just a support group for anybody really in the city to get support where they need it. Yeah. And anybody can join, doesn't matter what age?
We try to limit it to 18 to 35 as kind of an age limitation. I've been kind of talking to another lady in the group who is potentially looking to do like a 35 plus age. And I mean, grief knows no age. I really don't want to discourage somebody from contacting me to try to reach out and just talk about grief. You know, if you're 36, I don't want you to think like you can just not even contact me or anything like that. But yeah, basically it's just kind of like a support meetup group. We go usually, you know, this is pre-COVID, we'd go for a cup of coffee and just shoot the shit about how much this sucks. And
And is it normally like a one-on-one thing, or do you guys have group sessions?
Usually group sessions. So we meet the first Wednesday of every month, and usually there's about 6 or 7 people that come. It's been a little bit challenging with COVID. We've had to kind of push everything online. So
goddamn COVID.
COVID. I'm over it.
Everything. I was so over it a long time ago.
So Melissa, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you actually found Strong Daughters? Like, how did you find this group?
So like you guys had mentioned, I had lost my mom in August of 2019. She was suffering from heart disease for a very, very long time. And unfortunately, she succumbed to that in August. And it was definitely like the most gut-wrenching thing of my life. Like, that was, my mom was my best friend. And I know that's very cliche and everyone says that, but it was very true. Like, my mom was absolutely the person I would turn to for just about everything. And so to lose that was just like, my world was completely shook, like just totally shook. So again, like I said, you go through grief and, you know, there's the 5 stages of grief, which is complete bullshit. And you hit those stages in different ways and up and down and up and down.
What are the 5 stages? I actually don't know.
Anger, denial, bargaining, acceptance. Now I can't think of the last
That's okay.
one.
I feel like I put you on the spot. It's okay. There's the other 5.
So then you found that you didn't hit those 5 stages, and it was kind of just, it didn't go in order, but you felt all those things.
Oh yeah, you feel one stage 1 minute, and then the next minute you're feeling like, oh okay, you know, maybe I can kind of accept this, and then 2 seconds later you're pissed off at something, and like it's like a roller coaster where you just don't know which way you're gonna turn. Or
do you feel like, when you went through a couple of those stages, like the anger stage, did you feel like angry at other people, or did you deflect your feelings, and were you like, you lashed out at people who were just trying to help you, but they didn't really understand where you were, you know, how you were feeling?
I think originally, I feel like my anger didn't really start to come out until much later in my grief process. I think originally I was just more like sadness and, you know, trying to accept it, but my anger later on, you know, came out about, you know, myself of, you know, should I have done more? Could I have done more? And that's a very typical feeling, I think, for a lot of people where, you know, what else could I have done? But you also feel anger and, you know, it's very unwarranted, but like to the doctors, or, you know, could they have caught it sooner or done something more? Or you just, like the anger part, it's so irrational, but you definitely feel it no matter what you say.
Yeah.
So then with your mom then, did you know, like, how far along was she in the process of her disease before the doctors found it, and then how did you take it?
Well, she was diagnosed with something called I'm going to not say it right, idiopathic cardiomyopathy, which just means like an enlargement of the heart.
Yeah.
And that was when I was about 10. So about 20 years ago, basically, when she was diagnosed, and it just kind of got gradually worse. And then actually in May of 2019, she ended up having a surgery to put a pacemaker-like device in that was supposed to be our answer to everything. It was supposed to be like, we joked, and I was like, you're going to be running marathons after this. Like, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. And then it all kind of just went downhill from there. The device, when it was implanted, punctured a vein in her heart, and it was a whole gamut of issues basically after that. And then it just kind of trickled down. And then in June, she ended up having a cardiac arrest. And then for about 10, 11 days after that, she was in the ICU, and we were on pins and needles. Sorry. We were on pins and needles if we were, if she was going to make it out of this, or if her organs had officially shut down, or.
But was she still talking at that time, or
no?
So
within
as soon as she had the cardiac arrest, it was like you couldn't even speak to her anymore. No. So she was on a ventilator, basically.
Yeah, she was on a ventilator, and actually this really god-awful device, but it basically took over the function of her heart. So they ended up putting tubes into her legs, which pumped blood through her, basically. And it's one of those devices that they told me they use maybe 13 times a year.
Oh my God.
She was just one of those cases, and they needed somebody to sit there and monitor it 24/7 to make sure that device did not go down.
So did you guys have to make a hard decision about either pulling the plug or could you have kept her there? Or I know you see these things in the movies and stuff like that, and I've never experienced that with like ever. Like what was it like?
I'd like to say, fortunately, the question of pulling the plug was out of my hands. The day we came in, and the doctors would usually pull us all together, and we would talk about, you know, kind of what the next steps were and how everything was going to happen. During that meeting, they basically said that she was not showing any more signs of, sorry, I forget the title of it, but just basically any more signs that she was there or she was with us.
Yeah. So even though you knew that she had this disease, it was still a shock to you and your whole family.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, both me and my mom were just always so hopeful, and especially after the whole May incident. And, you know, I was joking about how it was just going to make things so much better. We were always just so hopeful that everything was going to be okay. Even after she had the cardiac arrest, I was still so hopeful that she was going to pull through. And the doctors were telling me even about how her, you know, quality of life would be, and it wouldn't be great, but it wouldn't be what it is now.
Yeah.
So her and I think we always just had so much hope that things were just going to get better. It was shitty now, but it's going to get better.
When you guys were talking to the doctors about that, did you think, I know you guys were hopeful, but did you ever think or discuss with your mom or your family if quality of life is better than, you know, the other side?
I'd like to say, I'm trying to remember if my mom and I ever talked about it, and I don't think we did, because
we're just hopeful.
This doesn't happen to us.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, you know, and it's such a silly thing to say.
You don't even know what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, you know, my mom didn't have a will. Like, there's so many things like that weren't put in place because this wasn't going to happen. This wasn't supposed to happen.
No one ever thinks
you're not
it's going to
supposed
happen.
to die at 54.
No.
Like, you're supposed to die at 90.
Yeah.
You know? Like, so there was just so many things. Like, it just, you know, I know it sounds silly to say, like, you know, she had this disease for so long. Like, how did you not see this coming? But I truly didn't. I truly believe, like, she was doing so well, and I just thought, you know, it was all going to be okay. Like, so it was just a shock, no matter how you look at it.
But I think that's a good thing, is that you took it as this is nothing, because it's kind of like, what are you supposed to do, right? Like, you're supposed to hang on to that chance that your mom's just gonna leave. You know what I mean? Like, you've been hanging on for 20 years, like you said, when you were 10 years old. So what else are you supposed to do but hope for the best, right?
And hope it's gonna get better. And with the surgery, you know, we had the hope there as well.
Yeah.
So, I'm actually this is out of curiosity.
No, it's all good. I appreciate the question. You're asking such great questions, and I wish more people would ask them.
But like I said, it's what everyone's thinking about. No one wants to say it, and they just tiptoe and dance around it. But I know people, you know, as you're sitting at the hospital and your mom's hooked up to the ventilator throughout her entire body, what were you actually doing when you were visiting her for the 10, 11 days that she was hooked up?
Holding her hand. You know, I'm very thankful that I had such good family members with me, because I would have sat there all day, every day. But, you know, occasionally a family member would say, like, let's go for a coffee. Like, you can't just keep sitting here. But, like, I would just, you know, talk to her and, you know, try to, you know, get some sort of response. And, you know, you hope for everything, like a blink of an eye, just, you're like, oh my God, that means something.
And she wasn't
like,
squeezing your hand or anything.
No, she was really, really sedated, and that was just to make her as comfortable as she could have been, especially with all the tubes and wires. And
so what were you saying to your mom?
That she was going to get out of this, and that, you know, it sounds so silly to say, but I never wanted to mention what happened to her, because my grandfather actually passed away when he was 44 from a heart attack. And I didn't want to scare her. I didn't want her to know what happened to her in a weird way. And I know that sounds so silly, but I just didn't want to say that to her. To make her.
You just don't want to put it out to the universe.
I was just like, I just don't want her to know. So I was just like, don't worry, you know, things are going to get better.
Of course.
You're going to get through this. Like, oh, you know, we'd had the meetings with the doctors. I'm like, oh, you know, your lungs are getting better today. Like, you know, it's hard because you don't have the audience talking back to you. But
So after she passed, like, I have a close friend of mine. She was my childhood best friend. She also lost her mom earlier this year.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And so when I reached out to her and I was offering my condolences, she said, I don't really know what the universe is trying to teach me right now. Yeah. So she's still trying to find herself. Like, do you find that too, where you kind of just wondering, like, why my mom?
Yeah. I think you think that till the day you die, is that you're just like, why me? Why did that happen to me? Why couldn't it have been somebody else? Like, and you know, there's actually a really great book there's a lady called Megan Devine who writes It's Okay That You're Not Okay. And she talks about, like, how so many people try to find the good in it. And she's like, it can just be shitty. It's shitty. It sucks. Like, you know, the fact that we're all like, oh, but I want to, you know, there's got to be some positive in it, like some sort of good, some sort of something. And it's like, no, like, you put all this pressure on it to make it something it's not. And it doesn't have to, it can just be shitty.
Did that book help you then?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, just, and again, that validation. And that's part of, like, also what I find helpful about the group is just getting that validation where you think certain things, or just the way that you're perceiving life now, and just understand, like, having someone else to talk to. It's like, I felt that way too. Just that validation is just amazing. And that book is an extreme way of validating you, because you're just like, oh yes, I felt that way. It's nice to know that it can just suck and it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
So how has Strong Daughters, like, actually helped you coping and dealing with the loss of your mother? Like, I know that there's a support group. What are the things that, you know, I know that you guys talk, but what are other things that you guys do in your support group that kind of you guys can help each other out?
I think a lot of it too is we're all in different stages. Like, some people are, you know, 20 years into it. Some people are, like, some people have lost their parents very young, like they were 12 or 13 and now attending the group. Or there's people who are like, oh, it happened 2 weeks ago. So we're all in different stages. And I think the younger stages, and myself included, look to kind of the older stages and be like, okay, well, how did you get through Mother's Day? Like, how did you get through Father's Day?
Yeah.
What did you do for their birthday?
Yeah.
You know, like, how do you know, what do you do at the gravesite? Like, there's just all of these things where you know, there's the year of first, they call it, but and I mean, that just keeps going, but there's just so many things. Like, for myself, I was like, how do I get through Mother's Day? Like,
Yeah.
2020 was my first Mother's Day without her, and I was like, how the hell do I do this? Like, I was going in a grocery store and I'd look at like the card section and you're just like, F this, like, I need to get out of here. Like, this is awful.
So how did you get through it?
Well, it's funny. So I talked to somebody in the group and they were like, oh, I bought her a card. I bought my mom a card and I filled it out and, you know, I wrote a nice little message to her, and I just felt so empowered by that I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to go get a card. And like, just because she's dead doesn't mean I can't get her
Celebrate
a card,
her.
right?
You can
like,
celebrate her.
Yeah. So I was just like, okay, cool. Like, I'll go get her a card. And I just felt so like empowered by that. But it was just like, it sounds so silly, but it was like never something I would have thought of doing.
Yeah.
I feel like people just suppress their feelings because you're right when it comes to different stages. I did mention during a couple of podcast episodes is I lost 3 people in 1 year.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and they were very like it was my dad and you know, and then my grandma, and then it was just, it's just funny because sometimes I'll wake up and the anxiety and the emotions, I can't, like, it's like your heart's just gonna come out of your chest and you can't control it. And you're like hyperventilating and you're crying. And that is like maybe 2-3 years already. Like, it still happens. It doesn't happen as frequent, but when it does, and sometimes it's like 3 or 4 in the morning, and all I want to do is pick up the phone and just tell somebody, because I feel like I just need to, you know, I need to let it out. Do you find that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Who's
like,
your go-to? Like, is there someone that you have a go-to?
Usually my husband.
Oh, wake up,
that
wake
poor
up.
guy. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Like, where you just wake up in the middle of the night, you're just like, yeah, I mean, real talk. Yesterday I had a complete breakdown. I miss my mom, and my husband is amazing at just hugging me and going, I know. Like, he knows he can't fix it. And it's tough being a guy because you want to fix things. That's a guy mentality, right?
Thing, yeah.
But he's so sweet in the way it's just like, I know. And what can you say? What can you do?
Right.
You can't.
And that's funny that you bring that up too, because we're talking about the stages and you're still going through the stages, and it's been years since you lost your dad.
Yeah.
So it really is no timeline. And I feel like, thank you for saying that it's bullshit, because I bet other people out there are like, why aren't I feeling these things in these stages? And, you know, they're probably lost too and don't know where to turn. So that's really amazing that you found Strong Daughters. So how long after your mom's death did you finally be like, okay, I think I need to find a support group?
I think it was like 2 or 3 months after. And that was just like, not so much needing to find a support group, but just like being a functioning adult, I guess. More that, like, the first couple months, like, you know, I'm lucky if I put pants on. Like, it was just, it's so, you're lucky if you eat. Like, you're just in such a wave where, you know, a couple months in, I was like, okay, yes, maybe I can go to a group and like actually talk to people and do stuff and, you know, actually make something out of this. And, you know, I wanted to find some sort of connection. And I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but like, I'm an only child. So I didn't have, you know, a sibling or somebody to rely on in that age group. I mean, I was very fortunate to have great friends, great family to support me, but just finding a connection with somebody else that you can just say, this fucking sucks, and they understand.
Yeah. So, for the first 6 months, what was your day like after your mom's passing? What was your day-to-day like? A lot of looking for signs. I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, you hope that they're still connected somehow. So a lot of that, and a lot of just
being in a complete haze, like going to work and you're just doing the day, and you wake up the next day and you're doing the same thing over and over again.
You're basically just trying to get through the day.
Yeah. You're just a haze is the best way I could put
Have
it.
you found a sign?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell us about it.
Oh, gosh. Where do I start? So my mom and I always, obviously, because she had the heart condition, I don't know if anybody is familiar with the whole story about spoons and having, it's kind of like an analogy for chronic illness that, what may take, we're all have a limited number of spoons to be able to do things in our day. So I might need 3 spoons to shower, but you might need 6 or 7 spoons to have a shower. And so we always talked about that. And it's like, we talk about our days and it's like, oh, I just don't have enough spoons for that. I just don't have enough spoons. There was a time I was actually going to, it was shortly after I was going to Global Fest with a couple friends. And we were walking down this road, and right in the middle of the road was just a metal spoon. And I was thinking about her, like, as I was going. I was like, oh, I wish you could see these fireworks and all of this stuff. And then...
Do you see spoons, like, in weird random places?
Yes. Like, I keep seeing random, like, metal, like, not even just, like, takeaway spoons, because I'd be like, okay,
I'm
someone just
literally
left their takeaway.
Yeah.
But, like, metal spoons, like, it's just so weird. And, like, people find, like, feathers or coins, but, like... The spoon thing just really hits hard. Like,
because it's just so random.
Random.
Especially
like
a metal spoon.
Yeah. Actually, it was a couple of days ago. I freaked out because I saw a ladybug inside my house. And it's literally winter in my house. There's no ladybugs that should be coming around. I ran to get my phone, took a picture. I sent it to Giselle. And, I'll let her tell you what the meaning of it is. And I was like, oh my God, there's a ladybug. I was like, it's Nanai. Nanai means grandma.
Okay.
And she's been a very big part of our lives. And she just comes out of, like, she's the one who said, I see ladybugs all the time. And then I was like, okay, that's cool. And it's weird because now I, like, see these ladybugs and it doesn't come often, but it comes in the weirdest times and places. And I'm like, huh.
And it's just weird.
It's
It's so
kind of
random.
It's really
especially in the winter time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really comforting actually.
Yeah.
For me, it was because I couldn't attend my grandma's funeral. She was back and forth from here in the Philippines because she doesn't like the cold. So it was winter time when she passed, and I just had my daughter. So I couldn't fly with her because she was only like less than a month old. But on her 1-year death anniversary, I was thinking about her, and I was just really sad that I couldn't have been there at the funeral. And then I was going to water my plants, and I found a ladybug on my windowsill in January. And I was like, okay, this is Nanai.
Yeah.
And so I told my daughter the story. At the time, she was super young. But I was like, this is Nanai. She's coming to say hi or whatever. So now every time my daughter sees a ladybug, she's like, it's Nanai.
Yeah.
And then she'll like pick it up and stuff like that. And it's funny. She was on a play date and she was like, look, it's my Nanai. And then the other kid like stepped on it. And she's like, you stepped on my Nanai.
Yeah, she was freaked out about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, it's fine. Maybe that wasn't Nanai.
It's okay.
But yeah, so now like the ladybug is our universal symbol for our grandma who's
That's nice.
it's her birthday tomorrow too.
Yeah.
So.
It's my birthday tomorrow.
Oh,
too.
no way.
Yeah.
Oh my
Advance
gosh.
happy birthday.
Yeah, thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Wait, I
Melissa.
just feel like that's another, like, I feel like that's just another sign.
That's so
Yeah.
weird.
It's so-
It is another sign, I think.
I also feel like sometimes my grandma, like, because like I said, she goes back and forth. And I think when she actually passed, I was the last person to fly into the Philippines because of work commitment. And that's like another story. And I actually was in Vancouver, and I was going to fly back into Calgary, only to fly back to Vancouver the next day because that's the connecting flight to Philippines. And I couldn't sleep, and I was tossing and turning. And you know those like lamps that have like a metal like switch?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it's really hard to
like
turn.
The little,
Yeah. So I turned that off in my hotel room, and I went to go lie down and go to sleep. And not even 3 seconds later, it flicked on. And I was so freaked out that I was like, oh my God, there was a ghost or something, because I'm always freaked out by that. And I I sat for a second and I said, I hear you. I'm coming. Please, like, wait. Like, don't be mad. Don't be upset. I'm coming. And it was like the day that they were going to bury her that
Wow.
I was able to go there. But I really felt like my grandma was just sending me a lot of signs, probably more of a comfort thing because I was like in a rush. I couldn't think about anything. And I know that people might get freaked out about those things because my dad and my grandma passed away. I think it was like 2 or 3 months apart. My dad was like that. Like I thought I saw my dad at McDonald's and I thought I was in a dream. And I was like washing my hands in the bathroom. And I swear, I was washing my hands. And you know those like towels, like the really big like towels that when you shower?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I saw it inching slowly off the rack. And I was like, usually I would have already jumped out and like ran out the door and freaked me out. But then I picked up the towel, I put it back on the rack and I was like, I hear you. I see you. We're fine.
Yeah.
Like you should be okay. And I like now I'm trying not to be scared of those things because I feel like there's unless like something's like trying to harm me, then I know.
Then you're like, okay, I'm out. But
yeah, I think that those are kind of like some signs to like kind of put you at ease.
Yeah.
Knowing that, hey, you should be okay. I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I think, and it's one of those things that we all have those stories, but you don't hear them very often.
But nobody wants to share them.
No,
like,
it's like you don't want to be the crazy person that's
that's
like,
what I was gonna
see
say.
spoons, and it's like, okay, good for you. Like,
but do your friends know what those spoons mean? And
absolutely.
Like, okay, that's...
And like even some of my friends, I'm so shocked that they'll be like, oh, like my friend's son ended up playing, my mom was like a huge Winnie the Pooh fan. Like she actually had a Winnie the Pooh tattoo.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like he just like after she passed became obsessed with this Winnie the Pooh doll. And like she would text me all about it and was just like, oh my God, I can't pull this thing away from him. Like he is just so enthralled. Like, I think it's, you know, and it was it was right around Mother's Day too. And then she's like, I think it's just like a sign from your mom. Like, oh my gosh. Like, so it's funny, even just hearing from other people, like your friends being like,
just embracing the
seeing.
signs.
Yeah. And I'm so thankful. Like she shared that with me. And I know that must've been also hard for her because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want you, like, I don't want to talk about your mom because I don't want you to remind you she's dead. But it's like, I know that all the time. Like you talking about her feels so much better than like.
Than avoiding it and tiptoeing it around it. Yeah. So let's talk about your dad for a sec. Okay. So you were telling me before we started recording that your parents divorced at a very young age, but stayed best friends, which is awesome.
They were like best friends. It
was
like
That's
the
awesome.
Best divorce scenario ever.
So how did you guys learn to support each other during this time?
We talked all the time. Like my dad was, you know, he ended up getting a cell phone and he didn't have a cell phone beforehand. I should preface that, but he was very good about like texting and just staying in touch and calling and, you know, talking about it and just, you know, saying like, you know, I know, you know, the anniversary of her death is going to be really hard and, you know, this birthday will be hard. And, you know, it was just a really good connection that we had about supporting each other. And it was really tough actually even this year because on Mother's Day, my grandmother, so my dad's mom, ended up passing away from COVID.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm
Yeah,
so
so
sorry.
it's so
On Mother's Day?
on Mother's Day.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
so
so
sorry.
it was so, and it was just tough. And, you know, my dad was, before that had happened, he was like, you know, I don't know how to fully support you because I haven't lost my mom. I don't know how that feels. And now can feel it and understands like that connection. And he's just, he's been phenomenal through all of this and just such a supportive, like, piece of this puzzle and trying to figure everything out. And, you know, even helpful with like the, you know, the shit work that you have to do after someone dies of closing bank accounts and doing all that.
Yeah. So did you?
Yeah, don't even get me started.
Don't get me started.
I can call out some banks right now and don't even get me started.
Okay. Because I had to deal with that. And it's funny because they're just like, well, I was like, listen, unless you fucking dig him up the grave, like he only has $500 in the fucking bank. Just close it. Keep the money.
Right?
I don't care.
Yeah.
Like it was so frustrating. And I feel like sometimes banks don't have empathy at all.
No.
It's like
No.
Is that another thing then that you talked to the group about?
Yeah. Okay. I was just like, okay, last update, I was telling you guys about like having to close their bank account. Yeah, still working on it because the bank is.
Because there's no will, there's no this, there's no that. And
they have to. Like, I had to send my parents divorce papers because heaven forbid my dad wants, and my dad's like, oh, well, I don't care. And it's like, I know you don't care, but I have to prove this to the bank. So send me your divorce papers because I need to send this off.
I feel like the bank should just already have a protocol in place if somebody passes away.
I don't think they do.
I kind of understand because I know there's like lots of scam artists.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, after a while, like, just help me help you.
Right.
Like, let's just close this account. Let's just.
Yeah.
Make it easy. But it took me a year. Honest to God, took me a year.
So,
and I mean, COVID had a little bit to play with that. But
of course. Yeah.
Of course.
So, you knew at 10 years old that your mom had a disease.
I don't know if I knew. If you 10, knew.
But she was diagnosed when you were 10.
Yes.
So, when you kind of got older, did you kind of say like, okay, Mom, you have this disease. We should do something about it. And although there's nothing you could have done. Did you kind of think that growing up, like, Mom, let's, work on your cardio, or let's, just try and make the situation a little bit better because I know that you're going through this?
I'd like to say yes, but I think I had like a blind ignorance to it. I really did. And it pains me to say that because that's where a lot of that guilt comes from, where you're just like, how the hell could I have not known? I should have done more. I should have pushed her more. And I'm sure I did at different points and was like, hey, we should, maybe we should go join a gym or do different classes and stuff. But I was also like, the typical teen that's like, yeah, sorry, man, I want to spend time with you, awful teenage years.
No,
so
just being a teenager.
You just don't think about
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because I know you guys share this common occurrence because you lost your dad, you lost your mom, and with my parents, they're just, every time the topic comes up about their health, they're so like nonchalant about it. And I was just telling you, remember, like, I know my parents' days are numbered, and my mom has diabetes, my dad has high blood pressure, and even though I try to get them to change and be like, hey, listen, maybe you should change because I don't want to lose you, kind of thing. And that's why when you were talking about it, I was kind of getting worked up. I don't know if you saw that.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. But it's just because I'm just like, I feel like they needed to take it seriously because it breaks my heart for you guys. It really does. And especially when you lose somebody that's so sudden that you wish that you could do something about it. But like for me, like I know that they should be doing something about it. They're not. And I don't know. Like, do you have advice for people like that?
It's such a hard thing because you want to just say like, look what, like, but you just don't think that's going to happen to you. Same with my mom. I know for a fact she never would have thought this would have happened to her. Like, I know that, like, that part just never crosses your mind.
But also you don't want to live like that too.
No.
Right?
No, fair
enough. So
yeah.
Even though you were saying like, oh, maybe I wish there's something I could have done. And of course that guilt is going to come with you no matter what. But at the same time, you don't want to live your life thinking that, that it could happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to be a negative Nelly and just sitting there and just being like, oh, Chicken Little, the sky's going to fall any second now. You you still want to live your life and, have a cheeseburger and, celebrate. But, you need to have that, I guess, moderation. Everything balance. In moderation, but moderation.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you have that advice for me then?
You know what? I knew my dad was diabetic. I knew my dad wasn't living a healthy lifestyle. I tried to I didn't really encourage, or like I scolded him from time to time. I was like, why are you eating that? I was like, you shouldn't eat that. So, I would cook something and I'd be like, hey, do you want to try this food with me? Like, I just made suggestions that was a little bit more of a healthier choice without putting pressure on making it feel like he's making a bad decision.
Yeah.
And there's some food that he really loved. Like, it's just funny because my mom's like, oh my God, he really loves that quinoa thing that you have with the feta cheese. And I didn't think my dad would ever want something like that. And I always cooked it for him all the time because he really loved that. I think it's just more of an encouraging instead of being morbid about like, oh my God, if you're making these decisions, you're going to die from it. But it also makes you look at self, because for me, I've really been working on my own health, not just working out because it aesthetically looks good. That's just the bonus part of it. But when you feel good mentally and physically, and it also like helps you have a little bit more clarity into how you're gonna approach it with them. Because I know, like with my mom, she's really transformed herself in being healthier now after losing my dad. Like my mom lost quite a bit of weight.
Yeah, she's like Zumba queen.
Wow. She's Zumba queen, and I've never seen my mom like that. And you know, it's just great. It just sucks, but I know that when my dad was passing, we kind of had a little bit of a rift with our family. Not like a hard rift, but I butted head with my brother because he was like bringing all these like plant-based stuff, and he was like, let dad eat this, and my dad didn't want to. My dad literally was accepting that he was dying because they gave my dad 6 months to live. Like it was the same year where I planned his birthday, his retirement, and his funeral in 1 year. So it was really, really tough. And my brother was like, why are you so negative, and why? And I was like, listen, I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm also trying to prepare what's to come. And you could never prepare for it. I was like, he has 6 months. The 6 months, if he wants to fucking eat whatever the hell he wants, let's do it. And let him go on his bucket list and just ask him what he wants to do. And my dad like loves going to the casino. It's just funny because like that was one of his wish. Like we literally sat and played blackjack at the table with my siblings, and we played. And I know that it hurt my brother because he was fighting for my dad, and so was I. But I just needed to accept at the time or whatever he had. So, you know,
and it's so tough. Sorry to interrupt. It's
okay.
tough because you just are in different stages, even with your siblings. And that's such a common thing too. It sounds like, you know, I can't speak from experience, but just from what I've heard from other people that like you just, how you deal with it are just very different ways. And some, you know, you're maybe accepting it, and others are like, no, we're going to fight this. This isn't going to happen. And you just can't believe it's going to be true.
I wanted to fight for sure if we could find something, but let's be real. My dad died of lung cancer, and he had a mass that was 10 centimeters big. They couldn't do surgery. They were, you know, they wouldn't, like they could, like he couldn't even do chemo because it wouldn't help him. They were doing radiation just to help him with pain alleviation. And I think for the first time in my life, when I saw my dad going through that, like, I don't know if you've seen your mom go through it when she's going through treatments. For the first time, I had to be strong for my dad and not cry. Like I can like still remember when he was getting fluid taken out from his back because there was just like the fluids just coming up his lungs. He was in so much pain. And I remember when I was a little girl, like he would like make me feel better. And I was like holding his hand, and he had such a tight grip. Like I could still remember it. And I just kept talking to my dad, and I was just telling him random stories. And I was like, oh, remember the time? I was like, we'll make you the quinoa. We'll do this when you get out. And I had to make up so much shit. Just so he wouldn't think about how painful it was, and just to keep talking. And you're right. Like everybody has different stages in the way that they cope and deal with things. I know that my brother made it seem like I was like just a harsh bitch about it, but I wasn't. You know, like I would crawl into a hole, like into my bed, and feel like it was a hole. And I would cry myself at night because I knew the inevitable was coming.
Yeah. But you're tough in front of your parents because you don't want to scare them in a weird way. Like it sounds so.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they would want you. They don't want to see you sad. Like on a regular basis, they don't want to see you sad, but especially something that's, you know, happening to them. I'm sure it would just kill them inside if they saw you like that.
Well, it's just funny because my dad was like, he knew his time was limited, and he was like, the only thing that my dad would say, oh God, is like, who's going to take care of you? You're not married and doesn't have a husband. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's literally dying. And that's what you're thinking about.
That's what you're worried about?
You're worried about who's going to take care of me? Like, it was sweet. But then I was just like, are he seriously thinking about that?
You know what Nana would say to me? She'd be like, on her birthday, she'd be like, oh, I hope I'm still alive when you get married because you're not married yet. And I'd be like,
she would say that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Those are the things that annoy us, but I do miss it.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
Yeah.
In some of the conversations. So that was actually my next question is, obviously as children, our parents would scold us or tell us like a teaching or whatever. And you're like, whatever. And you roll your eyes. Was there a teaching where you kind of like remember and you're like, shit, I really should have listened just a little bit to my mom?
Oh man, there's so many. I don't even know where to start.
Just give us one.
I mean, bless my mom, and she, the first one that comes to my mind, and I don't know if this is so much as a saying, but through all of her processes, through all of her procedures, through all of the blood tests, through everything, she was always like, you can do whatever you want to me, but I get to say ow. And I will always remember that. And I know that's not so much of like a teaching or a lesson, but just, it just makes me reflect and think back of how much shit she dealt with. And that was just her way of getting through it, was just like, you can poke, prod, do whatever you want, but I get to say ow. Like, I will say ow and, and she would just get through it. And I think about that all the time. And I'm just like, even if I have to go get a blood test, I'm like, I don't necessarily say it out loud, but I do think about it where I'm just like, you can do what you want to me. Like I had to go get a COVID test the other day and I'm just like,
those suck.
Can I just say how awful
brutal.
that is? Did you get the
So
nasal or
shitty.
did you get the throat swab?
the nose.
Okay, I've never gotten that one, but I heard how bad it was.
It was.
Yeah. It
like
was
my nose was
nice.
itching and I was like sneezing and it was funny. Like my face was like,
Yeah.
I was like, how far are you going to push that thing back?
Yeah,
I'm like,
sucks.
I didn't ask for a lobotomy, but thank you. Like, thanks for giving me this. But
well, I also laughed because I saw a meme where they were like, try not gagging on the, like with the throat swab. And okay, sorry, this joke is going to be super dirty, or it's going to be super dirty.
Oh, here we
it's
go.
me.
Heart's dirty. She's just dirty birdie over here.
And it's just funny because I was like, now all these guys who always want to get head, I was like, think about what's going in the back, and you want to go for us to go deeper. Like this is what it feels like. You're like, sorry, I just had to share that. But anyways,
That's in true heart fashion.
yeah. So
but now they get to experience it.
So for any of the guys that wants deep throat, when you get that swab, that's what it feels like. You're like gonna fucking vomit. Sorry. Okay. But to cut it out of the way. So Melissa, tell us what your best memory of your mom.
Oh, gosh.
There must be so many.
I
'cause
know.
You guys are
I'm
best
just like, what
friends.
do I pick? Where do I start? That's so many. I just don't even know. I mean, back in 2011, we took a cruise together, and it was one of those things like she had to pull I feel so bad about it now, but she really had to pull my teeth to like get me to go on this cruise, and it's one of the best experiences. And
Where'd you guys go?
We left from Baltimore and we went to, you're really putting me on the spot. I can't think of where we went. We ended up going to like Key West and down around that coast. I can't think of all the places. I think there was like 3 or 4.
You'll find that out as soon as you step out.
I'm
You're
gonna
like, damn it, that's what it was.
Exactly. And I'm like,
So you did Caribbean then if it was down in Florida.
Yeah, down in Florida.
Okay.
Down that way. And it was just like the best. Yeah, it was the best time. It was just nice connecting with her. It was just her and I, and we ended up, just having so many good memories. I remember just talking about all the different things that we were seeing, and like, I never went anywhere like that with my mom, into like a more tropical destination, and just being able to spend that time with her was like one of my,
Now I got to go to Vegas with my mom. My mom's been asking me to go to Vegas.
Go.
And I was like, yeah.
Oh,
and-
magic
okay,
mic it
wait, hold on.
Tita Tessie.
First of all, my mom's like, yeah, let's go to Vegas. I'm like, do you know what Harleen does in Vegas? I can't take my mom.
Well,
Anyways,
it's different now. We're not in our 20s anymore. I'm sure
Yeah.
Vegas in your late 30s is a lot different. Hey.
okay, sure. Not when you go with Harley.
My mom asked me if I wanted to go to the sex museum in Amsterdam.
Cool.
And I was like, hard pass.
Well, you know what? I know there's other things that my mom and I can do at Vegas, but you know, like I guess it's if I went with her, it'd be a different trip.
It'd be a different Vegas.
It'll be a different Vegas, and you know, I have toned down. Although when I go with my girlfriends, it's still balls to the walls, and you guys know who you are. So I think I'll probably, you know, once COVID, you know, if it ever goes away, that because you just mentioned that is a priority for me to just go with my mom.
Yeah. And that kind of choked me up too, because it's like, I want to, don't be sorry.
Are you going to the sex museum with your mom now?
No.
I think you should.
No, in Amsterdam.
I think you should tell her. Yeah.
All I wanted my mom to do in Amsterdam was smoke weed. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to smoke weed. And then we get to the weed shop. She's like, oh, I have a headache. I'm going to go back to the hotel. And I was like, God damn it. But no, I would love to take a mother-daughter trip. We did Europe one time, but that was with my brother and my aunt as well. But it was fun. I like traveling with my mom.
Yeah, don't be sorry, because I feel like
you're tapping into our deep emotions.
Yeah, you're teaching us something, and thank you for that. Because, like you said, you know, when we were teenagers, and even probably not now, we're just like, I don't want to do that with my mom. Hard pass.
Right. When you're a teenager, you don't want to do that stuff. But when you're older, it's like, I feel like you should.
But you know what? We're on borrowed time. It could be today, tomorrow, 10 years, 15 years. And I just think we should just, I like everybody says, it's really cliche, but it's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. So we just have to make the best of everything.
Yeah. So say yes to more things. I know, and I was the same way where I was.
Do you
just
say
like,
yes a lot more
now?
often?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Yes,
sex museum, yes, please.
Yeah, one ticket. No, I just, you just kind of, it puts everything into a different perspective where you're just like, why not? Let's just do it. Life's too short.
So back to Strong Daughters then. Is there a professional that works with you guys as well, or is it kind of just, you know, whoever, and you guys just support whoever? Like, what other resources do they provide?
Yeah, so I should specify that it's not led by a professional in any way. It's just a bunch of girls getting together, having a cup of coffee, and shooting the shit. I've worked with a couple different psychiatrists and people in Calgary, so I have connections if anybody needs anything.
I do.
Like
I need a psychiatrist.
Okay, I'll send you their business card.
But it's for a lot of other things.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It all just piles on. But so I should specify it's just, you know, very casual, we'll just meet, usually have a cup of coffee. Now it's a cup of coffee in your house over Zoom, but just a way of connecting, but it's not professionally led or anything like that.
So obviously COVID has affected the group, but you guys still get together the first Wednesday of every month though over Zoom?
Yes. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Before that we were meeting at a park nearby, so we would just chill out there, bring lawn chairs and connect still that way, but socially distanced.
Awesome. So I know that when somebody loses a significant other, a family, or just anybody that's close to them, you always get an outreach or outpour of like your condolences, you know, in the beginning, couple of weeks. But I find that nobody asks you a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months to a year how you're doing. People were like, oh, I feel so bad for you. And then they go to their normal life. But Melissa's life, her normal becomes different. Do you find that the people that are supposedly supportive, do they actually check in on you? Or is it like just more so like your dad or like you're the one close friend? I find that some social circles that you're in, no one even asks you.
Yeah, I would say that's true. Some people just, again, I think it's a pit of that mentality where I don't want to bring it up because I don't want to upset you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
do you think that's the reason why?
I think so. I think partially that. And then I also think I agree with you that some people, I think it's almost like they forget, or it's just, you know, I'll come in and have a smile on my face, but, you know, I could have been crying 20 minutes earlier because I miss my mom. Like, and you just don't think about it. Like you don't.
have you sat with friends and where you're like, you just are like, I'm having a hard day today, or anybody that you're talking to, it's like, I'm having a hard day, I miss my mom. And some people will like feel like, I don't know what to say. Like if you were to do that, what advice would you give? Say I was like your girlfriend and you're like, I just had a rough day. And then I'd be like, oh my God, what do I say to Melissa? Like what advice could you give me or anybody that someone's grieving and then they're having a rough day? And yeah, like what do you do to support them?
It's so funny you say that because my best friend, so after my mom had passed, she had texted me and she's like, call me, when you're ready kind of thing. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I called her. And the first thing I said to her is like, look, I just want to talk about it. Like, let's not beat around the bush, blah, 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 blah. And she started crying. She's like, you're not supposed to make me feel comfortable. Like, I'm supposed to be helping you. Like, why are you, and she's like, this is just so you to be like worried about me. And I'm like, I'm not worried about you, but I just like, I don't want to be like the social pariah that no one wants to talk to.
Or tiptoe around.
Yeah, like
when people treat you normally.
Like you're still Melissa, you know?
And I feel like we all have that inquisitive nature where we want to ask these questions and talk about things. And like I had a friend who wanted to know more about like medically what had happened. And, and I'm more than happy to give those answers. Like, let's talk about it. I'd rather talk about it than everyone's like, can't mention mom around Melissa anymore, heaven forbid. It's like
and you had mentioned too before we started recording, when we were talking, you said that you are an open book, and if you want to talk about it, you're going to talk about it, and you have been talking about it, which is great. But for those people who don't want to talk about it, like did you find it like people were avoiding you a lot because of that? And because like you said, it's our inquisitive nature to be like, I don't want to bring it up.
Yeah, I would say that, there's probably definitely some people. And also I'm one case. I know there's people who have lost a parent and they don't want to talk about it. They just want to feel normal and they don't ever want to talk about it again. And that's okay. I'm not coming on here saying everybody should talk about it. We should all talk about it, blah, 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 blah.
Because everyone has their own process.
I think we should, if you want to talk about it, you should feel comfortable talking about it. And the best advice, back to what you were saying, Harleen, the best advice I could give was I literally, like, I remember bursting through work the first day back and I was like, look, I just want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like, don't treat me like the social pariah in the office. Where like, it's okay to talk about it. I can talk about it. Like, I might cry, but that's okay. Like, I'm going to cry.
That's okay.
Crying's okay. Like, and that was one of the life lessons I learned from all this. I'm like, if I cry in a Starbucks, that's okay.
Yeah.
And did they kind of kick me out? Like,
exactly. And is that something that you learned as well from the group, that, everyone's just going to go through it the way they're going to go through it, and you should just feel it however you want to feel?
Exactly. I think you're more detrimental to yourself if you don't feel your feelings and try to push that aside or, unfortunately, take any means necessary to not feel what you're feeling. And that's not a good way about going about it. Like, just feel, scream in a pillow, scream in your car. Like,
Have you screamed?
Oh, yes. I've had some scream.
Your husband's probably like, what's wrong? You're like, no. I just needed to let it out.
Yeah, I just needed to let that go for like 2 seconds. No, it's mostly like, in my car on Deerfoot, which is typical anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, Deerfoot's bumper to bumper sometimes, so you got time.
Yeah.
So we're just about out of time. So thank you so much, Melissa, for being here. But before we go, I have 2 questions for you. Is 1, what do you miss about your mom? And 2, if your mom were sitting with us at this table today, what would you say to her?
Wow. I guess what I miss the most about my mom is her being my cheerleader and being my support for...
Can you go a little closer?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I miss my mom about, basically being my cheerleader and being my support and being the person I could turn to for the most mundane seeming things now that, I could tell her about my day and, she would have some sort of answer or solution or some sort of input. And I truly, truly miss that about her. And I wish I could have that back. I wish I could just have a button that she would just say, exactly what I know she would say, and have that back. And if, if she was sitting here right now, I would definitely tell her how much I love her and how much I really, truly miss her. And I hope that she is always around and always seeing me and still guiding me in the best ways that she can, like she did when she was here.
And keep sending spoons.
Yeah, see, lots of spoons, more spoons.
She's probably here.
Yeah. Well, while we're there, what would you say to your dad if he was here?
Oh my God. Did you really? That I wish I forgave a little faster. And I truly forgive. I truly forgive my dad. Because he raised us the best way that he could. And I wish I was less tougher on my dad. And I really do miss him. And I'm only learning that. And I'm only learning that from the growth of what I've been doing the last couple of years. So wherever he is, thank you for raising us to the best of your abilities. Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
because I feel like I think you needed to let that go a little bit.
Well, thank you.
If I could hug you, I would right now.
I can feel the air.
So while we're on the topic, I just want to say, even though my mom's still alive, I always try to tell my mom that I do care about her health and I don't want to lose her. So,
guys, I never cry. Okay, you really caught me off guard, but thank you so much, Melissa.
Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, sorry. So sorry, guys. For anyone out there who's dealing with the loss of a parent, or any loss, you can connect with the Strong Daughters in Calgary. They have a bunch of platforms that you can check out. Their website is yycdaughters.com. Their Instagram is at Strong Daughters YYC. Twitter at YYC Daughters, Facebook at YYC Daughters. We'll also throw all the handles on our episode notes as well so that you guys can check them out. I just thank you so much, Melissa, for coming on here. This is the first time her and I cried on this podcast. So
I even said, like, the last podcast is I never cry, but
we all have a soft spot for something in our life.
Yeah.
Her.
Yeah. And thank you. Grief really does suck, but thank you for allowing us to being vulnerable with us and vice versa.
Yeah, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you.
So that's it for us today. It was a really great episode. Thank you again. As usual, be responsible out there. Wash your damn hands, wear your masks, and most importantly, love yourself. Love yourself to your very best potential, even on the hardest days. Bye, everybody.
Bye.